Okay, lastly, standard 4.07, use of confidential information for didactic or other purposes. So this standard addresses how we may ethically use confidential information, okay, such as case material in the context of educational, scholarly, or public context. So these standards apply to settings such as lecture, publication, conference presentation, case reports, classroom discussion, supervision, social media posting, or even professional trainings. So the purpose of this standard is to ensure that people, okay, our client, individuals who have trusted us with personal, confidential, private, and sensitive information, so they are not harmed or exposed through public use of their data. Okay, so this standard 4.07, use of confidential information for didactic or other purposes. So these standards stress that we psychologists do not disclose in our writings, in our lecture or other public media about confidential or personally identifiable information concerning our clients or our patients, our students, our research participants, organizational clients, or other recipients of our services that they or that we obtain during the course of our work, okay, our professional service, unless we take reasonable steps to discuss the person or organization. Okay, the person or the organization has consented in writing, okay, give permission for us to share. And third, there is a legal authorizations for doing so. Okay, for some cases, court required and etc. So basically, this standard 4.07s require us not to disclose any identifiable confidential information of our client, okay, regardless is individual client or is an organization. So we are prohibited from revealing confidential, personally identifiable information that we obtain through our professional service, okay, through our work, unless specific protective conditions are fulfilled, okay, are met. So personally identified information include information such as names, demographic information, medical or psychological data, family history, workplace or school identifiers, unique personal events, or even geographic location. Okay, even when we share this kind of information with anonymous identifiers, for example, we don't disclose their name, even when anonymity is intended, sometimes even minor details, okay, seemingly minor details can make an individual identifiable, okay, within their family, okay, within their workplace or community, okay, people who know them. So when you describe their characteristic, even if you try to make it anonymous, okay, people who close to the person, who are close to the organizations, they may know who you are referring to. Okay, second, when we basically would like to disclose confidential information, okay, acceptable disclosure, okay, we can only do that under specific conditions. Okay, disclosure is only permissible when the following criteria is met. Okay, number one is disguising identity, meaning that we must take appropriate, reasonable steps to prevent identifications of the owner of the information. Okay, it could be the person, could be an organization. So this may include altering, changing demographic details, changing contextual information, obscuring timelines, combining case material from more than one person. Okay, we report in aggregates or in summative rather than in single case, or we use composite case examples. However, if we do this, okay, to alter the information, disguise the identity, we have to be reminded that, okay, we have to be aware that the ethical burden remains on us. Okay, it is our responsibility to ensure that the re-identification is not possible. Okay, people will not be able to relate, to deduce who are the owner of the information. And secondly, if we want to disclose the information, we must obtain written informed consent. Okay, if a person or organization voluntarily agree to disclose, consent must be in writing. Okay, must be fully informed, consent must be voluntary, and it must be specific to the purpose of use. Okay, even with consent, respectful and proportional disclosure is required. Okay, even we obtain the consent from our client, okay, from our informant, so we must always uphold, we must always conduct ourselves in respectful and proportional manner. Okay, we don't explain or disclose unnecessary information. So consent in this case does not permit full exposure of the individuals. And third, sometimes it is a legal requirement for us to share the information, okay, legal authorization. So this is uncommon in didactic setting, but it may apply in circumstances such as testimony or legal reporting. Okay, legal authorizations in this case does not eliminate the ethical responsibility for us to minimize harm on the part of the owner of the information, okay, clients or organization. So in a nutshell, so this standard 4.07 ensure that we uphold confidentiality when we use case material outside of professional service context. Okay, you want to use in our lecture, you want to publish, for example, we want to provide training and etc. So in this case, we must avoid identifiable disclosure. Okay, we must obtain written consent, okay, from parties involved. If it's legally justified, any mandatory disclosure, we must ensure that we do the bare minimums and we protect our clients from potential harms. And then we must minimize, when we minimize harm, we also need to respect our client dignity, right to privacy and confidentiality as well. So ultimately, these standards reinforces the principles that in educational and professional advancement, we must never let go, or we must never come at the cost of our client privacy or our client trust. Okay, with that, we have come to the conclusion of this lecture on Standard 4, Privacy and Confidentiality. So basically, throughout these multiple parts of videos, we have covered the the 7 substandards under privacy and confidentiality. So in the first part, we discussed on the maintaining of confidentiality, 4.01. In the second part, we discuss on the discussing the limits of confidentiality. And then in part 3, we discuss on the recording of video or images. And then we also discuss 4.04 on minimizing intrusions to privacy. And then in part 4, we discuss about disclosure, okay, whether it's consented or legally required. And then we also discuss how can we protect the privacy and confidentiality of our client when we involve in consultation with other IO psychologists, other experts. And just now we completed discussing on 4.07, use of confidential information for didactic or other purposes. I think that's all for this lecture. Thank you very much. See you guys in the next video.